Welcome to Litbit channel. Today we will see the poem Digging by Seamus Heaney. Let's see the outline of the poem. Seamus Heaney, born on April 13, 1939 in Turmarine, Northern Ireland. Raised on the farm by his parents Patrick and Margaret Heaney. He had eight younger siblings. About his education, he attended Anne Harris Primary School. Then he attended St. Columba College in Derry on a scholarship at 12 years old. Then he attended Queen's University, Belfast in 1957. About his career, he published his first book, 11 Poems, in 1965. Then he published his first major collection, Death of a Naturalist, in 1966. Then he became a lecturer at St. Joseph College in Belfast. Then he moved to Dublin in 1976 and became a head of English at Carrisford College. Then he became a visiting professor at Harvard in 1981. Then he was elected Oxford Professor of Poetry in 1989. He was awarded the 1995 Nobel Prize in Literature. Then he awarded the David Hockney Prize for Literature in 2009. Then he awarded a honorary doctorate from the University of Pennsylvania in 2000. He passed away on August 30, 2013 at 74 years old. Next one, setting of the poem. The poem is set in the countryside of Northern Ireland where Heaney grew up. Then the poem takes place in the yard of the family home where the speaker's fathers and grandfathers are digging. The specific setting is a garden where the father is digging potatoes. Then the poem evokes a picturesque landscapes of field, earth and sky. Then the poem also takes place in the speaker's memory as he reflects on his past and his relationship with his father and grandfather. The poem is set in the present day as the speaker looks back on his past and contemplates his own identity and creative expression. When the significance is extended, then grounds the poem in the specific time and place and evokes a sense of tradition and heritage, and provides a backdrop for the speaker's contemplations of his identity and creative expression. Then connects the speaker to the natural world and the land, and he creates a sense of intimacy and familiarity. The setting is also symbolic as the garden and the act of digging represents the speaker's connection to his past and his heritage and his own creative expression. Next one is background of the poem. Seamus Heaney wrote Digging in the summer of 1964. Then Digging is the first poem in Heaney's debut collections titled Death of the Naturalist in 1966. The poem is set in Northern Ireland where Heaney grew up on the farm. Then Heaney's ancestors were farmers and the poem reflects on their skill and hard work. The poem also reflects Heaney's own decision to become a writer instead of a farmer. Then Heaney compares the labor of a farmer to the labor of a poet. The poem explores the themes of work, labor, craft, and family ancestry and identity. The poem uses literary and poetic devices such as metaphor, repetitions, blends, alterations, and imagery. Digging has no set rhyme scheme or meter, but it does features end rhythms and iambic meters in the first two lines. Concept is the rhyme scheme of the poem. In this poem, Seamus Heaney is not strictly followed as the poem is written in free verse. However, there are some instances of end rhymes and internal rhymes throughout the poem. For example, line number 1 and 2, digging and digging. It's a end rhyme. Then 3 and 4th, ground and round is a end rhyme. Then 5th and 6th, thump and drum is a end rhyme. Then 7 and 8th line, sodden and hidden is a end rhyme. Then 9 and 10th line, spade and shade is a end rhyme. Internal rhymes and assonance are also used throughout the poem to create a musical quality. For example, the spade pen rest, it is an internal rhyme. Then between my fingers and my thumb is a assonance. Then the sounds of the spade is a assonance. Heaney's uses of rhymes and sound devices in digging creates a rich and evocative sounds that enhance the poem's themes and imagery. Central theme of the poem. In this poem, the speaker respects the family traditions of physical labor and wants to honor it. Then the speaker represents physical labor as having distinct pleasure. Then the speaker asserts that he will pursue a different livelihood writing, which he frames as an internal form of labor. Then the poem tells the story of three generations, and the content of Heaney's poetry pays homage to his homeland of Northern Ireland throughout the imagery of his family's integrated life with the land. Next one, author position of the poem. In this poem, Heaney reflects on his family's past and his own relationship with his father and grandfather. Then Heaney contemplates his own identity and his place in the world, considering his decision to become a writer instead of a farmer. Then Heaney looks back fondly on his childhood and the memories of his family's farming tradition. Then Heaney shows respect for his ancestors and their way of life, acknowledging the value of their hard work and skill. Then Heaney examines his own motivations and desires, considering the tensions between the desire to write and his loyalty to his family's tradition. Heaney's tone is melancholic, acknowledging the passing of time and the loss of his traditional way of life. Then overall, Heaney's position is one of the thoughtful reflection as he explores his own identity and relationship with his family's past. Let's see the short outline of the poem. I hold a sharp pen between my fingers where it fit tightly like a gun. Outside my window, I hear the clear sound of a shovel working the pebbly earth. It's my father out there digging, looking down. I see my father straining as he bends low to tend to the flower beds. When he comes back up, I think of him 20 years in the past, bending down in the shady rimes to dig in the near row of potatoes. Then his boot leg is placed steadily and comfortably on the shovel, the shaft of which is secured against the inside of his knee. He pulls potatoes up from the ground and then digs deeply into the ground again. This time he is replanting all the potatoes that we did help him pick. We loved feeling how hard and cool they felt in our hands. My God, my old man was incredible with a shovel. So was his father. No one could beat my grandfather when it came to cutting turf on the swampy lands that he worked. I remember once bringing him milk in a bottle, which I did sealed mostly by using some crumbled up paper. He stand up straightly and drank it all and then got back to his work right way. Then he cuts neat slice in the trough, throwing the heavy surplus earth over his shoulder, digging deeper and deeper to get the best stuff. I remember the chilly smiles of the potato mold and the squishing sounds of the wet earth. Those memories are still alive in my mind. Unlike my father's and grandfather, through my labor doesn't involve a shovel. I hold a short pen between my fingers. It's my tool. This is what I will dig with it. Thank you viewers. Thanks for watching this video.